Doing great.
Doing pretty good.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, you guys drove up from San Diego.
Rode up.
Yes, sir.
Rode up. Excuse me, my bad. And we got footage of that, you guys, so we'll be showing that too. Awesome. Are you both from San Diego? And I'm sorry, you guys, this is Dustin and Rafa.
How you doing?
Yeah.
Yo.
Dustin, are you from San Diego?
I am.
Born and raised?
Born and raised.
Nice.
I left there one time to my mom took me to Utah to go get clean.
Okay.
And I lived there for 9 months.
Okay.
And then it snowed, and I said, I'm going back home.
You're like, fuck this. Was it one of those like wilderness programs?
No.
No. Okay.
Close, though.
How old were you?
24.
Okay, yeah. You guys have heard of those wilderness programs,
for sure.
like when you're really young.
young, yeah.
My son's friend, and it's a good thing it happened because she needed it. But if she was one of those kids that just got taken, she lived in Malibu. I know that sounds really bad. Let me finish the sentence. So she lived in Malibu, like house on the water, and they came in. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning and snatched her up and took her to a program in Utah. Yes, they took her to do that.
I have a sponsee. They did the same thing to him.
Really?
I mean, it was always funny to hear the stories too. Like, you know, they have to go to the bathroom and dig a hole. Like, it's like real militant.
It's
but
gnarly.
They took him in the middle of the night. He was like, "Dude, what the hell?" I'm like 16.
Yeah. I don't really understand the middle of the night thing, but
I
whatever.
think it's a scare tactic.
Yeah, for sure. Rafa, born and raised San Diego?
No, I was born in New York.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. I was born and raised in New York until I was about 17. Mm-hmm. Came out here.
Did you come out here to get sober or?
No, my mom just got tired of my shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you came out by yourself?
Yeah, I came over here. I have my grandmother out here, and then I have some uncles.
Okay.
And stuff.
At
So,
17?
17.
Nice.
Yeah, my mom was like, "Yeah, you're just doing too much out here."
Yeah.
You know?
That's a big change, huh? Culture shock?
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. I came out here from Canada at 19.
Right.
And it was like the biggest culture shock.
Yeah. It's next level. It's like they have schools outside. I was like, what?
What do you mean schools outside?
Well, it's like campuses.
Oh,
you know?
okay, yeah.
Like
Everything's indoor there.
Yeah. In
Got
New
it,
York,
got it.
So
in
goddamn
New York,
cold.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I forget that. It's like freezing.
Yeah. You're in a building.
Yeah.
And everything like that.
So both you guys are in recovery, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin, when did you get sober?
8 years ago.
8 years. Me too.
Yeah, 8 years ago.
What's your date?
6/11/15.
Okay. 8/5/16. Yeah. And then you?
May 16th, 2014.
Rad.
Yeah.
And you guys started this podcast when?
About a year ago.
A year and a half ago.
So what's the story behind the podcast? How did it all start?
Well, it really was Graf. So the guy that was part of LFG just stepped down for family reasons. He wanted to work on his recovery and his life, and so I mean, which is really cool. I just talked about this on our podcast. You know, anybody that does that, especially when you have like something like LFG, right? You have a clothing brand. You're out in public and you're doing all these things. Not like we're crazy celebrities or some thing like that, but there's a lot going on.
For sure.
I mean, we're in stores, and so he basically said, "Hey, I can't do this anymore. I want to focus on myself, my family, my recovery," and
respect
that was it.
to that.
And I was like,
yeah, and people, if you're not in it, like people don't really understand it, and that's okay. Like to each their own. But yeah, when you're in this lifestyle and you're like in front of the public eye, it's a lot. And like to make sure your life is balanced with your home life, your relationships, yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I get up super early in the morning to like put myself in check for like the first 2 hours and make sure that I'm aligning with what I need to be doing throughout the day because it can get so chaotic.
Right.
So it started as a clothing line or and then it turned
Yeah. So I mean, the story goes we had a group chat and it was LFG crew. And so it was a bunch of guys. There was about 4 or 5 of us, and we would all just talk crap and say, "Hey, we're going to go ride the next day or the weekend," and so we would always, just kind of goof around on there. And then, Brendan and Rafa came to my house, and they were talking about doing a clothing brand for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I remember exactly, we were on my back porch, and I'm like, finally, like, you know what, guys? I'm sick of hearing about this.
Let's just fucking do it.
Yeah, let's just go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we did our first run of shirts, created an Instagram.
Nice.
And, all due to the people in recovery supported us. Because people in recovery just support one another and whatever they do. So we literally dropped the shirts and like the very next day, all of them were sold. And we're like,
wow.
We're like, damn.
That's so nice.
People like to fucking go, I guess.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, they do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
people say that all the time. Like, let's
Yeah.
fucking
I know.
go. That's so rad.
Yeah.
And so over the past year and a half, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's it been like for you guys? Rafa, what's the experience been like?
For LFG, it's been dope. I mean, in the last year, like I also like, I don't know, I've been through a lot. Like I started the meal prep thing, and then I had LFG, and then relationships, and my kids, and it's been a lot. You know,
How has it been for you and your relationship? Because I know, if you don't mind talking about it, if you do, that's totally fine. But it can be kind of taxing on your relationships. So
100%,
how did you navigate through that and make sure that you guys were healthy and balanced?
I was so not healthy.
Okay. Thanks for the honesty.
Thanks for the honesty.
Yeah,
man.
fuck yeah.
I would be
Let them know. Hey, let them know right here.
I would be 100%, dude. I was a
Straight
dirtbag.
dirt bag.
Hell yeah, you know, because like it's true. Like they go, you know, and like, what can I say? Like you ride a Harley, you have a really nice bike. You know, girls see that, and you know, they're like, oh, he's clean too. Oh wow, you know, and then and of course me, I'm biting all over it. I'm like, yeah, girl, what's up? You know,
Yeah.
And then you know, I was in a relationship for like 4 years. Went downhill real quick. You know, she wanted to go one way, I wanted to build a family, and you know, she kept going down that way, and I ended up, you know, working on my family, you know, and I ended up in a new relationship just recently. Like, we've been together for 6 months, but we've known each other for like 5 years.
Nice.
And so like we always wanted to do something, but I was always in, you know, I was just doing the most. You know?
You're in the right place now.
Yeah, I'm definitely in the right place now. You know, like where I was at when we started LFG was not in the right spot. You know,
How'd you get into the right frame of mind?
I really just didn't want to be, because I'm a lot older. I'm like 38, 39, and I don't want to be 50 and single. You know, I've seen like my grandmother, you know, like she's damn near 80 years old. She's single. I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
You know, I want my kids to have a healthy house, and I want more kids. You know, like
How many kids do you have right now?
I have 2.
Okay. How old are they?
One's 14. The other one is 9.
Okay.
Yeah. So like I want to make a bigger family, and you know, I was like the last relationship I was in, like it really wasn't going in that direction. You know, so of course, you know, with it not going in the right direction, you know, you start entertaining shit, and the next thing you know, you're fucking down a rabbit hole.
Trust me, I get it. Yeah. I feel like as we get older, like we really start to like see, you know, what we want and don't want, have that self-awareness, you know what I mean? And like what matters and doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like in my 20s, early 30s, it was just like, fuck, this guy's hot. I just want to have fun, or he drives a nice car or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And now I'm like, okay, is this person going to sit through like me being sick, or is he going to help me with my son, or can I trust him? Can we build this together? You know? So I think it shifts. We do get wiser when we get older. 100%. What about you? Do you have kids?
I do.
How many?
I have 2. I have a 18-year-old daughter, and then I have a 1-year-old son.
Oh, wow.
And then my wife is pregnant right now, too.
Oh, my God. Congratulations.
Oh,
you know what you're having, or is it a surprise? A girl.
Yeah.
Aww.
So it works out cool. This is definitely the last one. This pregnancy has been really tough on her, therefore me too. So
yeah,
you know, I mean, but kids are great. I mean, my son Wyatt is literally everything to me, for me. You know, I mean, I see myself in him, and it's really cool. I mean, so I gave up my daughter during my addiction.
Okay.
So the last time that I actually saw my daughter, she was 6.
And that's the 18-year-old.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so recently, I waited enough time, and I've done a lot of work on it. Like I literally work my steps around her and that relationship and what I'm going to do when she comes, or I present myself to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's super tough. So when she turned 18, I reached out to her. It probably wasn't the best time, like thinking about it now. But I knew that her mother had a big impact on her life, which is fine, because at the end of the day, she was protecting her, and I was completely out of my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was a heroin junkie addict. So I get it. You know what I mean? I had plenty of time to really take a look at it too. So I waited. So I put it out there. I gave a nice message, and then I'm giving it to her. You know, I know that eventually that hopefully the hope is that she's going to want to know who I am.
Yeah.
You know, and but the thing about it is she might not, and that's something that I had to work through and be okay with.
Yeah. I mean, what was that like for you? Because I feel like a lot of parents go through that. I went through it for a couple years with my son. He was with his dad. Now he's with me full time, but there was not nearly the same as yours, but there was 2 years that I didn't have him at all. And I was like terrified, like, oh my God, is this how it's going to be? You know, am I going to have to wait till he's 18 and then, you know, reach out? Like, what do you say to people out there? And like, how did you get through that? Cause that's tough. And a lot of people go out because of it. They're like, well, fuck this. I'm just going to go get high.
Right. I mean, I'm sure that played a part of me relapsing, you know, many times. I mean, it took me a long time to get clean.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, I know when my moment was where I finally surrendered, but the fact of the matter is, like, you just have to keep having hope and keep doing the right thing. I mean, that's for me. It was like I have to keep doing the right thing when nobody's looking. You know what I mean? So
consistently, right?
You have to. You know?
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
I got my lid now. I'm scared that I'm gonna drop the water.
I think like consistency, routine, you know, for our kids, like that makes such a huge difference. You know,
that's one consistency. I mean, I talk about it on our show all the time.
Yeah.
If you're not consistent on anything, you're not going to succeed.
No, fuck no. 95% of it is just showing up.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
And showing up for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, like we can show up for other people, but we have a hard time like showing up for ourselves, forgiving ourselves, like these things that we need to do so we can show up for others in a healthy way. What do you do, Rafa, consistently in your life?
Wake up.
You wake up. Nice. What's a healthy habit that you have?
I mean, well, lately what we've been doing is because the chick that I'm with now, Maddie, she's freaking awesome, and like she does a lot of like sound baths and meditation, and she does yoga, and so like weekly we've been doing like this thing where we just like sit down with each other and just, you know, tell each other like, you know, what we can do better in our relationship, what we need to do better in our relationship, communicating a little bit better and stuff like that. Because like, she's pregnant too.
Oh, wow.
So
congratulations.
like,
Holy smokes, you
wow,
guys.
you just dropped that here?
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I did, but it was like a secret.
Oh.
No.
Wow.
Well, this isn't live, so.
That's all right.
Well,
I guess it's out now. Good job, bud.
So she's pregnant. So like she's going through a lot of emotional changes and stuff like that. So like just constantly being able to reiterate to her that, you know, I'm there for her and that I love her and stuff like that, and that, you know, we're in this together and stuff like that. Same thing with my kids. My daughter, both my kids have a cell phone. And like I text them every morning at 10 a.m. Every morning at 10 a.m. I text them, hey, I love you guys. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys need anything.
Yeah, that communication.
You know, for sure. Because I don't really get an opportunity to see them as much as I would love to. I know once we get the apartment, because she just moved down from Seattle.
Okay.
So like once we get the apartment all situated and stuff like that, I'll be able to have them more consistently over my house.
Nice.
But for right now, you know, it's just text messaging her every day, you know, hey, I love you, boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Shooting her a phone call when I get out of work.
Right.
So that's
Gifts
what I try
of
to
sobriety, you know?
do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, once a week, try to make a meeting. Consistency in my life is hard, you know, because I have so many different projects going on. Like, you know, I have a full-time job. I have LFG. You know, we just added the podcast back into our lives. And then I also do meal prep. So it's like there's a lot of moving parts in my life.
Yeah.
And also trying to be a dad, being a healthy person in a relationship. Like there's a lot, you know what I'm saying? And he goes through a lot of different things too. Like, you know, he doesn't have like a regular 9 to 5. Like he's a manager, you know what I'm saying? So like we have like a lot of different moving parts, but the biggest thing is just showing up and being consistent to our families. That's like the biggest thing.
Dustin, so you you didn't start out on heroin. You said that was your drug of choice, right?
Correct.
Yeah. What did that look like for you? When did you start using drugs?
I started using drugs probably when I was like 18.
Okay.
No, maybe 17.
Okay. So a late bloomer.
Yeah, I started drinking really early though.
Okay.
So I didn't really, well, see, I take that back. See, I'm really awful because I don't consider weed a drug, and it's really stupid, and I know that it is. Okay. But so 14, I smoked weed for the first time, and I hated it.
Right.
Hated it. It got me like paranoid right away. Therefore, I just drank, and I drank quite a bit at a very young age, you know, and I experimented with girls at a very young age. And, you know, being 14 now, looking at it, it's like you're still such a child.
Oh, yeah.
And the moment I start drinking and the moment I started to, you know, smoke weed and smoke cigarettes and my spirit was just completely broken.
Yeah.
You know, and that's basically where it stopped until I got clean.
Yeah.
And I did some work, and I finally was able to, you know, help my spirit like grow again. And in the beginning stages, there was a lot of immaturity too, you know, just like Rafa said, you know.
Yeah. Well, I think we get stunted, you know what I mean? Like when we start using, everything else goes out the window, and we're like trying to figure out who we are when we get sober.
Right.
What got you into recovery? What was that final thing for you?
It was desperation. I mean, this is where it was at. I was in county jail, and I was offered to go to a program, and I said no. I'm going to do it on my own. You know, luckily for me, like no drugs came through the house. You know, which was it's kind of crazy to think about because there's drugs that always go through.
Yeah.
Nothing came through, so that helped me stay clean and sober. But there was this older guy that was locked up with me. And he got released, and 30 days later, he came back, and he was just wrecked. And for whatever reason, I saw myself.
Oh, wow.
You know, so I'm 34.
Yeah.
My life is completely unmanageable. I don't have my daughter. I have the relationships that I've had, I've just shattered. I didn't have a relationship with my sister or my mother. You know, my sister was a huge problem for me to not have a relationship with her. I mean, her and I have been through a lot, you know, growing up. So I saw myself in this old timer, and I'm like, holy shit, that's going to be me. And the moment that I got out of jail, I wanted to stay clean, and I was going to go to meetings. And then I went to go check in with my PO, even though I denied the deal already. He's like, no, you're going to go to a treatment. So
yeah,
the dude basically helped me, you know, get to where I'm at today.
Wow.
You know, and so I went there, and then I had to go to this county funded rehab. It was by far probably one of the toughest programs in the nation. I mean, but the success rate is really high if you stay.
Yeah.
And so I ended up staying, and I was there for 8 months. And I mean, that place literally, it was a behavior modification.
Do you mind saying which place that was?
Crash.
Okay, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, no.
Was it in LA?
No, it's in San Diego.
Oh, it's in San Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so it's...
is it what you needed, though, as hard as it was? Like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that's where I met Rafa. I mean, all my friends that I have today that are like the closest group of people, I've all met through that program. I mean, even my wife went through that program. So they had 3 different levels. There was an all men's, all women's, and then there was
the co-ed.
You know, the co-ed. So, and obviously I picked the co-ed because I'm a dirtbag, you know what I mean? So I wanted to still be around women and get clean, right?
Yeah.
And honestly, it was the best choice, but the worst choice because I was there longer, and it was brutal. I mean, it's one of those programs where they can tell you're on monad. You can't talk to anybody. Or you're going to be on exile. So you're going to sit and you're going to face the wall all day long. Well, actually, for multiple days.
And if you don't listen
and
you get kicked out, then you violated probation. Is
Done.
that?
Yep.
Yeah.
And my turning point especially was like, look, I signed for a deal to where if I got busted one more time, it was it. So this was like the last chance. Either I do right or I just go upstate and continue doing what I'm doing.
So you did whatever they told you to do.
Yeah.
In that
I mean, there was fear.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in fear of living this lifestyle that I just no longer wanted to live. You know, I mean, the drug life and running and gunning and all that it didn't appease to me anymore.
Yeah. What did you learn about yourself the most going through that program?
Oh man. I guess what I learned is I got my spirit back, like I was talking earlier. You know, I was able to have feelings again.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's weird. I think I might have said it on our show when we were on, but like I'm a mess now when it comes to like emotional things. And I guess I'm proud of that because I've worked on myself enough, but I was very stone faced. Like I had a lot of childhood damage to where, you know, I was abused as a kid. So crying and, you know, that just wasn't accepted at my house, you know? And so it took me a long time to actually shed a tear and feel some emotion.
Yeah.
So actually I was starting to feel that, and then I was starting to, you know, feel what they call like, you know, the pink cloud and all that stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really something.
It's intense when you start feeling those things again.
Yeah.
It's great and hard and just so many different emotions like all wrapped up in it, where it's like, I always say it's like when you get into recovery, you start to feel things again. It's like a spiritual rebirth all over again, like excruciating, but so powerful. And being able as a man, you know, as a strong man, to be able to show those emotions, I'm sure it helped so many other men too, because it's such a hard thing.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's still hard.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's still hard for some friends, you know, that they had kids and they haven't felt that emotion yet, you know? And I just keep saying, keep working on yourself. Because eventually you're going to, you know, there's going to be a chord that's going to be struck, and it's going to remind you of that little kid. Because, I mean, theoretically, that's what happens. You know, our spirit, our childhood, something happens to where it just stops.
Exactly.
You know, and then once we break free from that, for at least for myself, it was like the waterworks, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Rafa, what was your drug of choice?
Mine was I pop pills and I used to do roofies.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was the final thing for you that you got sober?
Ended up catching my second felony DUI with a strike enhancement. And, you know, I went to, like, I never tried to get clean. I never tried to, like, get sober. Like, I was so emotionally detached at an early age. So, like, feelings and all that, like, I just was happy being an addict.
Yeah.
You know, like that's.
Were you in denial, or you were just an acceptance of it? Like, this is just how I'm going to be.
This is just my life. That's just all I ever known. Like, I grew up like that. I'm not to sound like, oh, you know, whatever, but like, I just grew up an addict.
Yeah.
From like
very young age, you remember like the behaviors and stuff.
Yeah, like I grew up in a single parent household, so like my mom was working multiple jobs and going to school, so like she really wasn't around. So like all I really knew was the street. Like, you know, I didn't grow up like a gangster or anything like that. I grew up a little dirty ghetto kid from New York. You know, and excuse me. So like I grew up just this little dirty ghetto kid from New York, and when they ended up telling me that I was looking at the strike enhancement, which with the DUI and everything like that, that's when I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be gone for like, I did the math, I think it was like something like 9 years.
Wow.
And then, you know, my lawyer was just like, we gotta do something intense. And we ended up going to, I did like this outpatient program. Here, let me try to turn this thing off.
Yeah, turn it off. I should have already done that before.
I know, my bad.
Fucking roofie. Think about that. That's what's his drug of choice, roofies. Like, that's wild.
That is
like,
wild.
think about that. I would just want to be knocked out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. Like, he's like, there's some, we were talking about that this morning, like these kids that are doing like triple C's and this weird stuff where you just essentially like hallucinate and then pass out like roofies. So you were roofing yourself.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And so, I mean, was there like a small window where you're having a good time, or you just wanted to black out?
I just always wanted to black out.
Yeah. That's intense.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not, like, the pills weren't doing enough, you know? Like, those, you know, whatever pills I was on just wasn't doing enough. And I literally did everything.
Yeah.
You know, I've tried every single drug, like Adderall, everything. And it just wasn't enough. So, like, I just got into rochas. That's what they're called. They're called rochas. And I got into rochas in Mexico and just fucking kept it going.
Yeah.
You know, and like, to me, it was like the shit. Cause like that's why I drink Rockstars. Like, a lot of people don't know that, but like the reason why I drink Rockstars is because it's like a tart flavor. And like the rochas, like when you put it on your tongue, it tastes like sweet tarts. The same exact taste, you know?
Got it.
So like, I don't know. It was just my drug of choice. This is just how I felt, you know? And I ended up, I ended up going to this outpatient program. Outpatient program really wasn't doing it for me. You know, I was just like manipulating the system. You know, I really didn't want to get clean. You know, the counselors would talk to me and I'd just be like, look, you know, I'm not trying to get off this shit. I just want to not go to prison.
Yeah.
And then I tested dirty. And then they were going to turn the test into the judge. And my lawyer they contact my lawyer before they contacted the judge. And my lawyer showed up to the showed up to McAllister and pretty much took me from McAllister to Crash.
Okay.
And I went into Crash, and I was in Crash like that. Back then, it was like a minimum of 8 months, 8 months to a year. And then I did somewhere around 7 because I still wasn't sentenced. Like the entire time I was in Crash, I was fighting my case.
Wow.
Yeah.
So for you, feeling those emotions again, especially for numbing yourself out on such a level where you just wanted to completely black out,
Yeah.
what was your experience like starting to feel again?
I didn't even know what certain emotions were. You know, like when, because you remember Miss Denise, right? So like she was just like, just try to like identify it with something. So like prime example is, you know, when I first started journaling, I was just like, I feel like an egg, you know, like sunny side up. Like one side of me is soft and the other side's real hard. And then she was like, oh, that's a feeling of ambivalence. And then like she started like breaking it down to me. But like as far as like being able to identify what certain feelings were, I was just so emotionally detached. You got to think about it. Like, you know, I started doing drugs at a really, really early age. I
How old
started
were you?
popping pills at really, I don't even remember.
Like 12, 13 years old or
Probably
something?
younger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were drinking.
So you were
way earlier than that.
emotionally stunted, young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stupid young. Like, you know, my mom, like, there's childhood trauma. Like, you know, my mom was raped at an early age. And, you know, me and my sister seen all that shit. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like, my childhood is crazy. Like, all that.
Yeah. I think we can all be relatable in this room with that.
Yeah.
Which is you know, it seems to be the gateway for so many people with childhood trauma leads us into this, you know, numbing ourselves out. So you did the program for 8 months. You were there for how long?
8 months.
8 months too. And that's where you met your wife?
No.
She went
No,
through the
she was
program
at
at a different time.
yeah, she was at a different facility, but we met in the rooms in recovery. You know,
And what's it been like for you guys both being sober, in a relationship, and then getting married, like navigating through that?
I mean, it's one of the most difficult things I've ever had to do. Being in a healthy relationship is by far, especially in recovery, one of the hardest things.
It really is.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, Elise and I have had to work on ourselves quite a bit. I mean, we still don't obviously have the perfect relationship, and I don't know who does, but
No one does.
But the thing of it is we have tools now, and we can communicate with one another, and that's the biggest part right there. And I never communicated with anybody. It was always my way.
Got it.
Whatever we wanted to do, it was going to be my way. And I mean, even when I was getting clean, I didn't know anything. Even though I had this treatment center and it broke down a lot of barriers, I didn't really work on myself.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't go through the steps with a sponsor. And until that time, my relationship got better.
Yeah.
Because I was able to humble myself, look at the other picture, and, you know, treat somebody with the care and love that they deserve.
Hell yeah. Having that self-awareness is so huge. Like for me in relationships, I was the opposite because I was a people pleaser.
Right.
I didn't speak up. I didn't have a voice. So I would just build resentment so fast. You know, I'd be with somebody and be like, fuck, I hate what they're doing, but I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to ruffle any feathers. And then I would like have an expectation and get a resentment. And it was just like, just a mess. And then I would end up, you know, breaking up with them, but they didn't even know why because I'd never addressed any of it. And being able to work on those things and have that self-awareness is just like pivotal in recovery. So the 12 steps is what did it for you.
Yeah.
Rafa, is that for you as well?
Sure, I went through like 3 different relationships in 9 years. So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to say, so I mean, I know
no
a lot about
solution.
his recovery. I sponsored him. We worked steps together, you know.
Rad.
And, you know, for Rafa, I mean, he, even many years clean, he had a tough time just having a conversation still, you know, so there was a lot of trauma. I mean, when you start to dig down on all that trauma, and I know for myself, because it felt good, and then just watching him like being able to go to like different meetings
Yeah.
and like share. I mean, just for him even coming on the podcast right now, I mean,
Yeah.
as nervous as he said he was, I feel like, Jesus, I'm so proud of him, you know,
Yeah,
just because
that's
I
so
know,
dope.
I know this person, you know, and I
Yeah.
know how bad, you know, speaking and looking in somebody's eyes, like it was a struggle, you know, and
Yeah.
like those are the gifts of recovery.
Hell
Like
yeah.
I just got that moment where I was like, God damn, I'm so proud of this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how far we can
Yeah.
come. You know,
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
sit here today and we see each other like this, but where we were at and like what we'd been through and being able to overcome.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys tell people out there that are watching this that are in their shit right now, that, you know, are still in that victim state of mind, that are still, you know, sitting in that space of like comfortable being miserable because they don't know how to forgive and they don't know how to get over these things? Like, what would you say to them?
I mean, the promise is freedom. Like you want freedom from everything in your life. And until you can really understand that word and what that means, like you're never going to be able to get clean. You have to do work too. You have to, you know, whatever that outlet looks like to you, a treatment center, 12-step program, you know, some sort of solid support group. I mean, I highly recommend, you know, going to meetings and working 12 steps with a sponsor. I mean, that's just, been doing that for a lot of years and it's
Yeah.
helped a lot of people out. So, but that's the goal is freedom and not having a crutch, you know. And the fact of the matter is people are just dying now, you know.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. You're going to do a line of Coke that's laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
And you know, there's something that's hitting home right now with me, you know, and some family stuff. And it's like, I'm trying to explain this to somebody. And it's like, dude, the drugs are not the same anymore.
No recreationally using drugs anymore.
It doesn't even exist.
No.
You know what I mean? We know a 14-year-old that smoked weed, and I was like, talk about relating, right? 14 years old, being under a bridge, smoking a joint for the first time, me. Now this kid is 14 years old, and the weed was laced with fentanyl, and he died.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
You know what I mean? And it's
Just
like,
unbelievable.
how,
mind blowing. But that's the world that we live in now.
yeah.
And that's why us talking about these things is so important. You know, and I feel like unfortunately fentanyl isn't going anywhere. So what do we do? What are we going to do, right? And it starts with the youngsters. Like they have to get educated. You know, like these DARE programs are not enough. I mean, we need to be going in and talking to these kids. That's one thing that I want to start doing and like sharing my experience, you know, and talking to them. Like my son's 15. I talk to him all the time about it because he's had friends that have had stuff that's been laced, you know, thinking they were smoking a joint and stuff. I'm like, you just can't use anymore like
awful.
that. Like a weekend, just going out and experimenting on the weekend, you just can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, with me, it's just kind of hard because like, you gotta understand, like, motherfuckers is lost.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's sometimes like for me in my story at least, you know, like we just lost. You know, and it's not just me. It's like there's I guarantee you, like if I was out there, like there's 30, 40 other dudes out there just like me.
Yeah.
You know.
And did you
They're
not
just
care
like,
if you lived or died kind of thing? So it didn't even matter in your head if there's fentanyl. You're like, oh, whatever.
To be honest, I didn't even think about it. It's like, what the fuck is there to think? Like I couldn't, like, you know, even thinking about like political stuff, like I don't give a fuck about the president. Like I'm broke here. I'm broke right now. Like I gotta get, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm in my current situation where I'm currently at. Like, you know, I grew up in, just to let you guys know, like I grew up in East 92nd and Rutland Road and in East Flatbush. So like where I'm from, I was the light skinned dude. You know? So like when I'm growing up in this neighborhood where I'm too Hispanic to hang out with the black kids and I'm too black to hang out with the Hispanic kids, it's like I'm by myself. So I'm already like ostracized.
Yeah.
You know? So like when I'm already ostracized at such an early age, it doesn't really matter like if the drugs that I'm taking is laced.
Yeah.
You know? Like, cause I'm not seeing that. You know, I'm just lost. Like there's a lot of people like that, man. And like that's why, you know, with me, there's times when I don't feel comfortable in a meeting, but I feel more comfortable around like J Street, like in the middle of like all those homeless people and everything like that, those homeless encampments and stuff like that. I feel like around those people, like I feel comfortable around them. You know, I feel comfortable around people in their active addiction.
Yeah.
You know, just because like that's just what I know.
It makes a lot of sense.
Like,
Thanks for explaining it that way. So for you and those people that you're saying that are out there that are just lost, like how do you get through to those people at that time? Like what would have got through to you back then, if anything?
Back then, I mean, like, just, I don't know, because, like, I seen my best friend die. I seen, like, my great-grandmother passed away, and she pretty much raised me. So it's like, it literally took me having a kid. Like, when I had my daughter, that's when, you know, things kind of changed for me, you know, because, like, I always wanted a kid. I always wanted to show another side of me, a world that wasn't fucked up.
Yeah, something good.
Yeah.
Which you're good too, but I hear what you're saying. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I just wanted to show another side of me that, like, hey, there's a lot more to this world. You know, but you don't, like, to be honest, like, you don't really change it until something significant like that happens. And that's sad, but it's the reality of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think just let me jump in on that too.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I think it's consequences. I mean, I think that's really because people are going to keep doing what they're doing because it's working. You know, even if, I mean, now I look at it like the dope fiend that I was, I'm like, there's not without a doubt I would have been dead.
Yeah.
There's not, I mean, not a doubt in my mind. You know what I mean? I mean, now I hear stories of like, you have a group of people that are going to start using fentanyl, and like somebody's going to have to raise their hand and say, well, I'll try it first and just Narcan me if it's like too good. That's wild. And that's just,
insane.
and that's the reality of what's going on right now. But I think some sort of consequence, like even if it's, you know, your family kicking you out and you're homeless and you get scared that way, you know, in order for them to be like, oh, maybe I have a problem, you know, but you ask, you know, what can we do? I think this sort of thing right here, you know, like social media, if it's positive and if you're doing something that's relatable to somebody, they're going to enjoy that. You know what I mean? And that's why we started the podcast, is to send a message to like young kids or even people that are just in the struggle right now.
Yeah.
And see that like getting sober doesn't mean your life is ending, because I know for myself and so many people, they're like, well, I'm going to get clean and sober. Then like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to be a fucking square now.
Yeah.
Like, we're the furthest thing from a square.
For sure.
You know what I mean? And so
what does your life look like today?
Today?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just nonstop.
Yeah.
It's nonstop. And I'm trying to do the most just because I've allowed myself to just be in the biggest misery for like so long and addiction, and it feels like I'm catching up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm going to be 43 and I swear to God I feel like I'm 35.
Yeah.
You know, I just like been reborn, you know, and anything that's new, you know, old Dustin would have been like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Like a podcast, like why would I do that? That's weird. You know what I mean? And why would I like do a funny video on social media? I mean, sometimes I still feel weird doing stuff. Don't get me wrong, you know, I really do.
but you do it anyways.
I do it anyways.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I love what we do, and I love that I keep myself so occupied. You know, I mean, I have 4 jobs. It seems like, you know, in reality, it's it keeps me sane.
Yeah,
you know? It really does. So I mean, what it looks like now, it's like we do fun things. So we plan big trips on motorcycles, and you know, I remember being a little kid in the car and like a pack of motorcycles go flying by, and I'm like, man, that is so cool, you know. And you know, I would,
now we're the pack.
I mean, I would hope, you know, and that's the thing. It's like we want to showcase like things that we do, you know, like we travel outside the county, and we've met people along the way, like that live in other states that meet us, and and go on rides. Like, you know, last year we did a big ride in Yosemite, and it was unbelievable.
I love that place. That's so
unbelievable.
Cool. Just complete freedom, right? Because you're not controlled by anything anymore.
No.
Yeah, that's so dope.
Yeah.
Couple questions for you guys from the viewers. I'll start with you. So if someone's in early recovery, it's a new sponsee of yours, and they're saying, there's no fucking way I'm going to ever be able to forgive this person, what do you say?
I mean, just keep coming back, because you're going to. You know what I mean? If you're not going to be able to forgive, then you're really never going to be able to grow. So if you want to grow, if you want to grow and you want to have a different life, it's all about changing your whole perspective when you get clean. So if you're not willing to change your whole perspective, then clearly there's some more work for you to do outside of the rooms or in recovery in general. You know what I mean? And now that's a scary thing to say because I don't want anybody to go anywhere because they die.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You can't be like the old timer of like, you know,
go out and get some more experience.
Work the
That's
steps
what
or fucking die.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You can't do that anymore because the reality of it is you're playing Russian roulette and you're going to die.
Yeah.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Everybody that's using dope right now is guaranteed to die if they keep using dope.
Yeah.
Especially fentanyl or even meth, whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, whatever the case may be. But yeah, I would just say buckle up and, you know, keep working on yourself. And I can promise you, if I was your sponsor, like you would forgive people because we dig deep. So my routine is we're doing a step a month. It's very militant, and it's if you start to slip, I'm going to remind you if you're slipping, and I'm just going to make you do certain things. You know what I mean? I made Rafa like go drops off socks to homeless, and we're talking like individually.
Love that.
You know what I mean?
Still do it.
There's stuff that you know you can do, and I mean I just want everybody to succeed.
Yeah.
Not everybody's needs to have a clothing brand and a podcast or whatever. But just if you want to be like the best version of you, work on yourself. If you want to be the best husband and the best dad, work on yourself.
Yeah. Awesome. We're definitely going to take that clip. That will be a reel. Rafa. All right. So if someone's in early recovery, right? And they want to go to a bar because their friends are going there. They got 6 months sober. What would you tell that person?
You stupid.
You stupid.
Yeah. It's like the whole thing. Like, I mean, you know, the barbershop. You know what I mean? Eventually, if you hang out at the barbershop, you're gonna get a haircut, right?
But you know what? You know what? A lot of motherfuckers, they do that shit. A lot of motherfuckers go, hey, I went to 7 meetings today, and all of a sudden, you know, I want to make amends, and
Yeah.
you
I
know,
just
fucked up.
for me, like I didn't.
Yeah.
I have no desire even going into a bar. I'll just start with that. But
For real.
for a long time, like I always say, it's like my first 5 years.
Yeah.
I like was struggling in the sense of like really like deep diving into myself, learning what I needed to do. You know, becoming my best version of myself. I feel like last 2 years have really done that. But the first couple of years, like if I did have friends that went out somewhere and maybe I'd go, you know, for a few minutes, like after a year or something. And it was like this intense jealousy. Like I wasn't even triggered like I wanted to drink, but I was like, these motherfuckers.
I know.
They can just do this and I can't. Now I don't think that way because I've done the work, but even that's like a scary place to be where you're being envious of others.
But that's
you know?
normal though. And people need to understand that. Like I have friends that have multiple years and they're alcoholics and they have resentment to some people that are just normies, right?
Well, good. I'm glad you said that.
But that's a normal feeling.
Yeah.
And so like people will get like, well, some people might go out over that too. Like, oh, well, you know, I've been clean for a year and, you know, my friends go to the bar and they only drink a few beers, right? You hear it all the time. And then they go out and then the moment somebody brings some sort of drugs, they're going to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a normal feeling, but the fact of the matter is like if you know that you already have a problem, then you got to save yourself and leave you out of those situations.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes too is like, it's not so, like for me, it's not so much being at a bar, you know. Like for me, it's like certain feelings that like things that I'm going through that like really trigger me. You know
so
what
what
I'm
do you
saying?
do in those
like,
situations? Like, let's say something happens today.
Right.
That's super upsetting.
Right.
What's the first thing you're gonna do?
And get on my bike.
Okay.
Get on my bike, go for a little ride, and then once I get on the ride, probably reach out. You know, and then or hit up a meeting. You know, and then when I go to the meeting, I'll try to go to a meeting where ain't nobody that I know there, so I could just be completely naked with everybody and just say exactly what's on my mind.
So and get into action immediately.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah,
you have to, because like if you don't, then I mean like something else is gonna come up, and then something else is gonna come up, and then something else is gonna come up, and then next thing you know, you knee deep. You're in Tijuana. And
right. All bad.
You're going for Chinese at Hong Kong. You know what I mean?
It's all bad.
Yeah. I think what you said earlier, and kind of it's still in my head, is when you have expectations, like you said that, and it reminds me of like I just had this same scenario happen like just a year ago with my wife, you know, and she hit me hard with it, and she was like, "Why do you have so many expectations on her?" And I'm like, "Wait a minute." Wait, what? And I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And it's that's been my issue forever, having expectations on my friends, my family, and a lot of like the victim mentality. But I mean, even 7 years clean at that time, somebody put me in my place, and I had to take a look at that.
Yeah. And I think it's so good that you said that, because it's so true. And I go through the same thing. And like, this is not like we get into recovery, we do the steps, and then we're just better. Like, this is a journey.
Right.
And we're constantly going to be growing, evolving, right?
Right.
And there's going to be times where, we're not doing so great, but we're staying sober, and we're in that constant state of like, all right, how can I improve myself?
Right.
Dustin, what do you say to somebody out there that has just relapsed? Because this happens a lot. And there's that, guilt and shame. Fuck, I can't walk back into the rooms. I just relapsed. What am I going to do? And they're just sitting in that right now. What would you say to that person?
So it's funny that you brought that up, because I just shared about this because I heard somebody speak. They were getting time the other day, and they were like, you know what? We are, as a group, majority of the time, rougher on people that have relapsed than we are a newcomer.
Yeah.
And that fucking really hit home,
true, yeah.
because like I've been that guy to my own sponsees. Like, you can't fucking get it. You know what I mean? Like, go figure it out, and and that's me, right? Because I'm just, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain how that makes me feel, I guess. But, the fact of the matter is, like, I've got to be nicer to those people and show them that there is love, because I know for myself, if this is it, and this is the way I have to think about it, like, I know that's life or death. If I don't stick in the rooms and I don't stay in recovery and do the right thing, like, I know I'm going to die.
Yep.
And so, for the guys that keep relapsing, and we know plenty of chronic relapsers, there's somebody that we know that's close to us that just relapsed too. And it's like, man, I just came with a whole love and compassion. Like, I get it. I can relate, but maybe you just need to work on yourself a little bit harder, because at the end of the day, if you're, like I said it 1,000 times already, if you're not working on yourself, you're just going to be in complete misery. And the thing about it is you got to get honest.
Yeah.
Because if you're only doing surface level things, you're going to just stay surface level.
For sure.
You know what I mean? Like, let's elevate.
Yeah.
Let's get to another level to where we can actually feel better about ourselves. And like, there's a lot of trauma. There's a lot of trauma. I mean, just when you came on our show, like, I really had no idea about you, Jenny. And then you shared your life story. And I remember sitting in the chair, like, going, fuck, that's so brave. And it's so rad to see. And like, we had a lot of comments from girls that are in the same situation as you, or like they were, dancers or whatever the case may be. And like, it was like so powerful. I mean, the things that happen to women in recovery are just 10 times worse than men, and that's just what I've seen, and the things that, women go through. I mean, even my wife hearing stories, like, there's sometimes where I'm like, no, time out. Like, I can't hear that anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I cannot hear that anymore. It's too much. Anyways, back to the question. I just would come as love and compassion and say, dude, this is the only life that you're gonna find this sort of love.
Yeah.
You know
And
what I mean?
relapse, unfortunately, is part of the story more times than not.
It is.
I mean,
Right,
it took me like 20 years to finally get my shit together, you
Yeah.
know, and it's like I was constantly out there. For a long time, I didn't even think I had a problem, or I just didn't care. I was in acceptance. Like, this is just what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. But yeah, to just get it on the first time is very, very rare. If you do, great for you.
Totally.
But yeah, I mean, love and compassion. We're here for you. We understand. We've been there.
Yeah.
Right.
And those stories are great. I mean, we know plenty of them. For me, like, I was forced, I mean, there was, the ultimatum was like, do this or you're going to go away. And
Yeah.
like, that's
For
it.
a long
Yeah.
time.
So, and that's what I was looking at. That was
Yeah.
reality. So I'm like,
Yeah.
well, I guess let me try this, because I don't want to be that old man that's coming back into the, jail.
Yeah.
Beat up, broken down. So, this side of the street is much nicer. That's
Hell
for sure.
yeah.
But I praise those people that just come into the rooms, like, beat up too, and they stay through it,
Yeah.
Right.
Just for my story, it wasn't that way. Like,
Yeah.
I had to be
Pushed.
handcuffed to the goddamn
yeah,
chair
yeah.
and said, this is where you're going to
No
be
other
at,
option. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rafa, bringing it back to basics. So somebody that is getting sober doesn't go to a program, right? Doesn't understand like 12 steps, sponsors, like what we're talking about. How does somebody find a sponsor? What do they need to do?
Well, I mean, like, sometimes it could just, so good example of that is I was at a kava bar, and I was just sitting down there, and the sponsor that I had at the time, we were just sitting down, we were just talking, and then this guy just walks in, and he's drunk, he's hammered, and I'm just like looking at him, and I'm just like, damn, that was me.
That was you, yeah.
And then next thing you know, I'm just staring at him, and I'm just like, and he's just going at it, just like talking super loud, brazen. I was like, wow, that's not me,
Yeah.
And then it for me, it takes like humility. Like you have to hit a certain point of humility to where you're able to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be beaten up enough to actually be able to be receptive to even hearing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if you don't say like if I'm not beat up enough, like how am I gonna be able to like take your advice?
Yeah.
Because for me it was like I had no other option.
Mm-hmm.
Everything like I had to hit this thing in my head where it was just like, you know what, my thinking is flawed.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything that I think about, like my best thinking is flawed. Like every time I think about, oh, I got this down and this now, I end up getting locked up. I end up in prison. I end up,
Yeah.
strung out. I end up, in a trap house, and everything just progressively gets worse.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like, in order to answer your question, like in order to be able to ask for help and stuff like that, you have to be humble enough to ask for help.
Absolutely.
Like you have to be beat down hard enough. So like the kid, he just like came in there and everything like that, and I just sat down with him. And I was just like, hey, homie, like, you good?
Yeah.
He's like, no. And then he just broke down and he just told me everything.
Yeah.
And then the next day I brought him to the event over at San Diego Harley, remember? Alberto. Yeah. It's the trip. But he, now he's still clean and sober.
Nice.
He's he's in a relationship, he has his own house, he works construction, he's chilling.
Right on. Yeah, and people don't realize that like asking for help is actually the strongest, most courageous thing you could do. I preach that all the time because I never wanted to ask for help. Just in general, my pride, my ego, which that will fucking kill you every time.
Every time.
Get out of that space. But when I finally ask for help, number one, it's like a huge weight gets lifted off your shoulder, but it's so strong.
But what's hard too is for a lot of people in recovery and trying to be sober, like a hard part for them to ask for help is because whenever they would ask for help in their addiction, they've always been taken advantage of.
Good point.
You know what I'm saying? So like a lot of the times we'll ask for help, say like we'll ask for help, but it's kind of hard to ask for help because or be completely sincere with asking for help because we're so used to being fucked over.
I think you can apply that to like all areas of your life, right?
Definitely.
100 plus.
Yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
it's real hard. It's real hard for people, but a lot of the time people just have to be. You have to make yourself susceptible to that.
You have to surrender.
And that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's hard saying, oh shit, I got a problem.
Yeah.
Like when I had my back this whole time, like I had my back through 28 years of my life before I got clean and sober.
Yeah. Just got to get out of our own way sometimes.
It's hard.
Do you guys have any final thoughts, burning desires you'd like to say to anybody out there that's listening or anyone that's out there suffering?
Listen, it's not getting better out there. Definitely use, Jenny's sober living lifestyle. Reach out to her, reach out to us, LFG 1904. I can promise you that I can set whoever up in the right direction. I have access to multiple treatment centers. It's like I said before, if you want some freedom from active addiction, then you have to do certain steps. And the first one is reaching out for help. I mean, that's been the beauty behind our Instagram is like we have so many times now where people have reached out to us and like, especially after the podcast, so LFG started 3 years ago. We started the podcast a year ago. And I mean, and that's where a lot of people that can relate because almost everybody now has some sort of addict in their family.
Yeah.
And so the toughest part we just talked about is reaching out. You have to reach out, like save your own life.
Yeah.
Save your own life and have the hope that you're going to live a better life, you know,
Yeah.
and as long as you stay clean and sober, I can promise you that you will.
Yeah. So they can reach out to you at LFG 1904. That's the Instagram.
That's the Instagram,
right?
yep.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for all
Or
you
don't
do.
and die. Not just playing.
Yeah, or else you're gonna die.
Do
You
not
know?
die. How
Do
about
not
that?
die. But
Don't-
yeah, you
don't
guys
die.
like recovering out loud,
Yeah,
being
for
a
sure.
voice out there. You know,
Hell yeah.
it's so needed. We need to keep going, and we need to lift other people up to be doing the same. So
Hell yeah.
thank you. Thanks for taking some time and coming out here and chatting
you.
with me.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. We'll see you next
Let's
time.
fucking go.
Bye.
You know the deal.
Let's fucking go.